You are walking through a park on a gray afternoon. The air is still. You step over a damp branch, look down at the grass, and freeze. There is a dead crow on the ground. But what makes your heart skip a beat isn't the carcass itself. It is the overwhelming, suffocating silence. You look up and realize there are dozens of them in the barren branches above you. A black canopy of eyes, staring down, motionless, utterly silent. You have felt that tension, that sudden primal chill, the instinctive realization that you have just walked into a hidden room of reality where you do not belong. And you were right. We are conditioned to look at the animal kingdom through a lens of comforting myths. We assume their reactions to death are brief flickers of confusion before they return to the mindless search for survival. But with corvids, crows, ravens, and magpies, the mechanism works entirely differently.
Today, I will dismantle the comforting illusions you have about animal consciousness. I will reveal the 5 hidden mechanisms of the corvid funeral and show you exactly what is happening in that terrifying silence. Stay with me until the very end. The final mechanism, the true reason they gather in the dark, is easily the heaviest. It shatters the boundary between their minds and ours, and it will permanently change how you view intelligence, including your own. The ritual begins not with silence, but with an alarm. When a single crow discovers a fallen flock member, it issues a cacophonous, grating call known as a scold. Within minutes, birds abandon foraging. They fly in, taking positions in the surrounding trees. And then, as if a switch is flipped, the screaming stops. At the deepest level, they are not staging a sentimental vigil. They are establishing a cold, forensic perimeter.
There is a hidden world happening right now, just beyond the glass. Subscribe, and let's keep watching together.
The truth is that for a hyper-intelligent species, blind panic is a death sentence. Survival requires flawless data collection. In that silence, the flock is mapping the geometry of the tragedy. They are scanning the environment with a clinical precision that rivals human analytics. Was the killer a hawk? A feral cat? Was it a human holding a long, unidentifiable object? Right now, you don't notice this dynamic in your own life, but when you see it, you won't be able to stop seeing it. Think about
why humans slow down when driving past a horrific car crash. We tell ourselves it is an unavoidable, morbid curiosity. It is not. It is your ancient brain, your threat assessment algorithm demanding that you look at the destruction to calculate how to avoid the exact same fate. You are gathering data. The corvid brain, specifically the nidopallium, an area as dense with neurons as a primate's cortex, does the exact same thing. Only they do it without the comforting lies we tell ourselves about why we stare. Subscribe to the Invisible Courtyard. Stay with me. The next point is the one most people subconsciously refuse to accept, because it implies a level of calculation that terrifies us. Once the silent data collection is complete, the threat is categorized, and the consequences are permanent. If a human is identified near the body, the flock does not just fly away. They memorize the exact geometry of that human's face. They will communicate that specific facial structure to the rest of the flock. They will teach it to their fledglings. Years later,
Generations of crows that were not even hatched on the day of the funeral will aggressively mob that specific human if they walk into the park. They do not forgive. They do not forget. They weaponize the memory of death to build a shield over the future.
I saved this next part for last. For many, this will be the most uncomfortable and difficult moment of the video. Because looking at this cold, intergenerational data transfer, a heavy question emerges, one that scientists have debated for decades. Are they simply biological machines running a survival script? Or do they feel the crushing weight of grief? We want a binary answer. We want them to be either unfeeling calculators or feathered humans crying in the trees. The truth is that the two are not mutually exclusive. Grief is not a human invention. Grief is the biological tax placed on a highly developed memory. You cannot have a mind capable of deep social connection, a mind capable of recognizing the unique face of a partner they have flown beside for a decade, without that same mind experiencing a violent cognitive collapse when that partner is suddenly gone. The silence in the trees is not just data collection. It is the neurological shock of a severed bond. It is a brain processing a void. When the flock stands motionless, they are absorbing the sudden absence of a complex, individual life. They are confronting the absolute finality of the end, just like you do. In 3 or 4 days, you will be walking down a street or sitting alone in a quiet room, and you will suddenly remember my words. You will look at a bird on a wire or a stranger, and everything will fall into place. You will realize that the silence of the world around us is not empty. It is heavy with the exact same realization of mortality, the exact same silent processing of loss that you carry inside yourself every single day.
Tell me in the comments, not a generic thought about nature, but a real story. Tell me about a time in your life when absolute silence taught you something terrifying and true about losing someone. And share this video with someone who is currently carrying a heavy, silent weight. Sometimes a person just needs to know that they are not the only one standing in the dark, trying to calculate the meaning of a sudden absence. The flock always remembers. And so do we. There is so much more they aren't telling us. Subscribe to never miss a signal.